One of the biggest mass kidnapping cases in U.S. history is the Chowchilla kidnapping. This was in California in the 1970s. 3 men kidnapped a school bus of 27 people, 26 children, and the bus driver, and they were kidnapped and buried alive. I'm going to tell you about it. This is one of the ones where you're reading it and you're like, how is this even possible? It's crazy, but it's worth hearing. The first guy we're talking about is Fred Woods. He's kind of the ringleader in all of this. He grew up in California and he came from generational wealth. I'm talking filthy rich. He was basically as privileged as you could get, but his childhood, as privileged as he was kind of a weirdo. He was described as shy, awkward, and as a teenager, the same thing. Around 19 years old, he did get married, but that marriage didn't last long. His wife said that he was basically just living off his dad's money, very lazy and selfish, and didn't do much. So they ended up getting a divorce, and at 22 years old is when he starts working at a rock quarry for a gravel company, and his dad owns this rock quarry, which is important for this story. The other 2 men are James and Rick. I don't know how you pronounce their last name. I'll put it on the screen because I don't really care to learn because I hate them. James is older, Rick is the youngest. They were also very well off, not as rich as Fred, but very privileged, spoiled, so they had pretty similar upbringings. And the 3 guys actually went to high school together, but they did not become friends until around 1974, which is when this takes place. So you have these 3 men that are very spoiled, very entitled, and they're now friends. They think that they should get everything from their parents. Their parents get fed up and end up cutting them off. So the dynamic of this friendship is essentially Fred is at the top of the pyramid, and then James does whatever Fred says, and Rick, the little brother, does whatever James says. So you have these 3 stupid men. They've been cut off. They're used to having all the money that they wanted. So now they're like, all right, how do we get rich? Let's think about it. They think the best idea is to kidnap people and ask for a sum of money, essentially a ransom. So they spend a year researching the perfect crime, and they decide, let's pick children because parents will pay more for children, and the more children that we kidnap, the more money we can get. So they plan this out. They're going to kidnap a school bus, keep the children hostage, and demand $5 million from their families. So it's July 15th, 1976. Again, this is in California. The town is called Chowchilla. This is a smaller town. Everyone sort of knows everyone. And the day that this happens is the day before the second to last day of school. The bus driver, his name is Ed Ray. He has been driving for years. He's always on schedule. All the parents know him, and everyone is very familiar with him. So it's 4 p.m. The bus driver has already dropped off some kids. At this point, there are 26 children still left. And they start driving down this back road, this pretty empty road. They see a white van that's blocking the road. So Ed gets out of the car, offers to help them. 3 men with guns jump out, and they say, if you even think about reversing, we will shoot you. So Ed in his head is like, okay, I will just comply and hopefully no one gets hurt. So the children in the bus are starting from age 5 all the way to 14. Fred gets in the van. He orders Ed to go sit in the back of the van. So he's now driving. James is sitting at the front, pointing the gun at them. And then Rick gets in the white van and drives behind them. So the first step of their plan is to ditch the school bus because obviously they can't have the police looking for the school bus. So they drive 0.5 miles away to a park with bamboo and they hide the bus. They have a different van there prepped for their kidnapping, and they order the children to get in those 2 vans. So there's 13 kids in one van, 14 in the others, and they start driving for 12 hours. So again, they've been planning this kidnapping out for a year. So these vans are all boarded up. There's no heat, no circulation, hardly any oxygen. The kids have to go to the bathroom. Kids start throwing up because it's so hot in there. And again, they're in there for 12 hours, not because the place that they're going to is super far, but because they want to drive around to essentially kill time until it's the middle of the night so that they can continue with the next step of their plan. So around 7:30 p.m. is when panic sets in. The cops are called. There is a search party. They call in 30 FBI agents that fly in to help them with the search. And this is now news nationwide, worldwide. It's all over the news. Everyone knows about it. So the cops find, with a helicopter, they find the school bus, and then they think that the kids are still alive because they see the tire tracks from the vans that drove away. So they think that there's hope. Meanwhile, it is now 4 a.m. The 3 perpetrators, Ed and all the children, arrive at the location. The location is a rock quarry that Fred's rich dad owns. So they've arrived there. And they get out of the van. There's a hole in the ground with a ladder, and they start ordering Ed first and then all the children to get in the hole. So they want to get Ed in there first, Ed, the bus driver, because they think if they get him down there, then all the children would follow. So Ed climbs down the ladder and he realizes he is in a metal truck trailer that has been buried underground. And then they take the children down one by one. While they're doing this, Fred, James, and Rick ask the children for all of their names and their addresses, because remember, their whole plan is to ask for $5 million from their parents. So they want to make sure that they have everyone's name so that when they call the parents, they can confirm that they do know who they are. So in this trailer that has been buried underground that they're now all in, there are makeshift toilets, one small light, hardly any air circulation. I think they try to do some sort of funky vent to get some air in there, but nothing at all. And then there's a bunch of old mattresses in there. So once all the children and Ed are down there, Fred looks at them, says, "We'll be back for you." And then he pulls up the ladder, seals the hole with a metal plate, and places 2 truck batteries on top of it. These truck batteries weigh like 100 pounds each. And then the children think that the perpetrators are gone, but they hear shoveling dirt. So they're essentially getting buried alive. So the next step of their plan is to get the money that they wanted. So now it's the early hours of July 16th. The guys go back to Fred's house and they're like, all right, time to call the police, demand the $5 million. But they're trying to call the police and all the lines are taken essentially, because this is worldwide news. So everyone's calling in tips and stuff. And essentially the guys cannot get through to the cops to say their ransom on $5 million. So they're like, all right, what should we do? Take a nap. So they decide to take a nap, which is just crazy. And back at the trailer, things are going from bad to worse. You have little kids from age 5 stuck underground. There's no air, there's no food. They're having meltdowns, obviously. They don't know what's going on. Ed is trying to keep them calm, but everyone's sweating, everyone's hot. People have to go to the bathroom. It's just horrific to even think about. And they've been underground, fast forward, for 12 hours now. So Ed is like, all right, we're probably either going to die from suffocation, starvation, or we're going to be crushed because of the dirt that they put on top of the trailer. The roof kind of starts to cave in and Ed just sees no way out. Now we introduce one of the heroes of today's story, Michael Marshall. He was the oldest kid in the school bus. He's 14 years old, and he says, I am going to get everyone out of here. He is determined to get everyone out, and he's the one that him and Ed work together to keep everyone's hopes alive, and they start working, trying to figure out how they can find their way out. So they grab the old mattresses, they stack them on top of each other until Mike can touch the ceiling of the hole that they came in through. And they're pushing. It's so heavy. Again, there's like 200 pounds just from the truck batteries in there. But they don't give up. They're doing this for hours until eventually they do manage to move the plate. And I'm saying this really fast, but keep in mind, this took them hours. They have one little hand reaching up there, scooting the things over. Finally, Mike is able to get out, and he's like, oh my God, thank God, we're going to be free. He gets out, realizes that he's in another wooden box. So on top of the sunken, buried trailer, there's another wooden box, and they're just like, what are we going to do? Mike doesn't give up. He's pushing, kicking, throwing everything that he can to get the wooden box to break. And finally, he does. Dirt starts to fall in through, but he sees that now there's a way out. Thank God. Keep in mind, this kid is 14 years old, and he's just so brave because they don't know what to expect. For all they know, they can get up there, and the 3 guys can be up there with their guns waiting to kill them. So just incredibly brave, him and Ed both, and all the children in there. So once Mike is up there, he tells Ed that the coast is clear, and they help bring the kids up and out one by one. So after 16 hours of being trapped in that trailer, at 8 p.m. the day after the kidnapping, the 26 children and Ed have officially escaped. So they run over to construction workers. The police is called. Medical comes and check them all out, and they bring a bus to take the kids back to Chowchilla. At 4 a.m, the kids get to the police station. They're all reunited with their parents, which is incredible and just so awesome. And Fred and the guys are still napping. When they wake up from their nap, they turn on the news. They see that the children they had buried underground and the bus driver have escaped, and they get their stuff and go on the run. I hate to do this. I was trying to do it in one part, but go to part 2.